when October 29th, 2025 saw the interstellar guest designated Threeey Atlas achieve its nearest approach to our star, it performed an unforeseen action, a thing which has caused astronomers to struggle for answers. Also, what researchers are finding today is forcing certain scientists to pose queries they never imagined they would need to pose. This does not concern a different comet traveling via our solar neighborhood. This concerns an entity which journeyed for eons across the blackness separating stars, an entity which ought not act the manner it is acting. Also, the further information we gather, the weirder it becomes. Allow me to share what is occurring at present, since what transpired during the recent few days has altered all we believed we comprehended regarding this guest. When Threeey Atlas neared perihelion, its tightest meeting with our star, a remarkable thing happened. The object's luminosity did not simply rise slowly, as anticipated, it detonated. The brilliance escalated at double the speed it was accelerating previously, 2 times as quick. Scientists Chichang Zhang of Lel Observatory and Carl Bartams of the US Naval Research Laboratory recorded this event as it happened. Also, they lacked any prompt justification for what they were observing. Consider that for a brief time, this entity has been journeying across interstellar voids for what might be eons. It has traversed surroundings we can hardly comprehend, and presently, as it draws near to our star, it abruptly gets significantly more energetic than any simulation foresaw. How? The spectral examination showed something intriguing. The object's illumination turned more blue than the star's personal spectrum. This azure displacement signals the existence of carbon molecules, namely C2 and amidogen elements, NH2. These constitute indicators of energetic ice vaporization. Yet here is what causes this disturbance. Radio viewings found that in only 2 weeks preceding perihelion, Threeey Atlas was shedding roughly 5.7 times 10 to the 28th power water particles each second. That is 40-fold greater than it was shedding only 1 month prior. For 40-fold more water, gushing forth into the void, as a single researcher detailed it. A fire hose at full power. Today you could assume this is typical comet activity. Comets warm up beside the star, ice becomes vapor, they become lighter. Normal science? But Threeey Atlas is not obeying normal science. The speed of alteration is incorrect, the moment is incorrect. Also, what we are observing fails to align with what we understand of comets within our home solar system. This is when it becomes curious. Orbiting observatories, SOHO, Stereo A, and the latest GOES 19 satellite, all outfitted with coronagraphs that may view bodies near the star, snapped pictures of Threeey Atlas throughout this vital time. Also, what they viewed was abnormal. The object materialized as a dim, yet clearly stretched speck. Yet here's the strangeness. It possessed no discernible dust appendage. Nothing, only this elongated luminescence, lacking the typical dust plume which comets usually create. What might that imply? So certain researchers suggested that at first carbon dioxide vapor was fleeing from the object at a separation of roughly 3 astronomical units. This CO2 likely was chilling the exterior of the core, basically serving like a shielding barrier which stopped water ice from vaporizing. Yet subsequently, a thing shifted. That shielding barrier vanished. Also, when it vanished, the water ice below was abruptly subjected to immediate solar energy. The outcome, a sudden surge in luminosity and energy. Yet there's a different scenario. Also, this is the point matters become awkward for certain scientists. The makeup of Threeey Atlas's core could be radically dissimilar to anything we have witnessed previously. Recall, this entity did not originate within our solar neighborhood. It coalesced near another sun, in another stellar setting, with dissimilar chemical prerequisites. What if its inner construction is not at all like the comets we are accustomed to? What if there is some material within that core, which we cannot comprehend currently? The James Webb Space Telescope was monitoring Threeey Atlas, and its findings contribute an additional stratum to this puzzle. Webb's near-infrared instrument uncovered that this object has been altered by eons of cosmic ray assault. We are discussing galactic cosmic rays, strong particles which saturate interstellar voids, hitting the object's exterior perpetually, for ages. As per studies headed by Roma Majolo at the Royal Belgian Institute for Space Astronomy, these cosmic rays have radically changed the physical and chemical framework of Threeey Atlas. Digital modeling indicates that cosmic rays did pierce roughly 50 to 65 feet down into the object's exterior, forming what researchers are labeling a deep, irradiated crust. This shell does not approximate the untouched substance from the object's native star neighborhood. It has been baked by radiation for such duration, that it has developed into something different wholly. This is the conceptual change. Researchers were anticipating that interstellar entities, such as Threeey Atlas, could provide us a view into different stellar neighborhoods, that we might study these guests and discover what circumstances are like near faraway suns. Yet if Majolo is correct, what we are observing is not an untouched specimen from a different star neighborhood. It is a severely altered, radiation-treated exterior which has been radically transformed by its voyage across interstellar voids. Majolo stated something which ought to give us all consideration. He declared that Threeey Atlas is presently, quote, a product of its interstellar journey, rather than where it came from. Certainly on the exterior, this prompts a clear query. What lies beneath that radiated shell? What is concealed in the center of this entity that could remain untouched substance from its home neighborhood? Also, this is a fact many humans aren't aware of. Dr. Avi Loeb, the past head of Harvard's astronomy division, did officially ask that NASA provide all scientific information regarding Threeey Atlas to everyone. What reason did he have? What information does he suspect is in those files, which NASA has not released currently? The conduct of Threeey Atlas following perihelion is presently the center of deep investigation. Researchers concede they cannot predict what events come subsequently. Shall the luminosity persist in growing? Shall it abruptly dim? Young and Batams recorded in their findings that the object's development following perihelion might be equally strange as the explosion that came before. Perhaps more strange. Also, this ambiguity is why this time is truly vital. We are observing at this moment how an entity from outside our star system acts in ways we cannot completely understand. During perihelion, Threeey Atlas attained a visual brightness near magnitude 9. That is luminous enough to be seen with minor amateur scopes, providing you understood precisely where to search. Yet this is the issue. It was situated so near to the star in our view that seeing it from Earth's exterior was almost unachievable. At that vital juncture, we needed to depend on orbital coronagraphs to observe what was transpiring. Also, what these revealed was an entity that appeared not at all like a normal comet. The pictures displayed this stretched, luminous shape, lacking the anticipated dust appendage. Rather, what we are observing seems to be mostly vapor discharge. The hydroxyluminescence, the marker of water steam fleeing from the object, was found by NASA's Swift Ultraviolet Observatory. Yet the absence of viewable dust, that is peculiar. Comets create dust. This is what renders their appendages so striking. Therefore, where is the dust from Threeey Atlas? A single scenario is that the makeup is basically ice-heavy, with scant solid matter to generate dust. Yet this fails to completely justify the sudden surging. A different scenario, and this is where certain scientists become uneasy, is that the entity's inner framework is different from all we have categorized previously. Currently, we shall discuss what the James Webb Space Telescope uncovered, since this is when the narrative pivots toward regions that contest our hypotheses regarding interstellar entities. Webb monitored Threeey Atlas previously in August, prior to the perihelion transit. The near-infrared spectrograph device examined the illumination originating from the object, studying the exact frequencies that indicate which molecules are existing. The information validated a thing that previous viewings had suggested. This object is abundant in carbon dioxide, exceptionally abundant. Yet more significantly, Webb's examination uncovered that the external strata of this entity were radically altered by cosmic energy. This is what that implies. Within our star system, we possess a shielding envelope named the heliosphere, formed by the solar breeze flowing away from our star. This heliosphere protects us from many galactic cosmic rays, those strong particles which originate from supernova detonations and different chaotic occurrences throughout the cosmos. Yet in interstellar voids, there is not this kind of shielding. Entities wandering among the stars are subjected to the complete power of cosmic ray assault for millions or possibly billions of years. Digital simulations, created by Majolo and his group, modeled what occurs to ice and stone when it is subjected to cosmic rays for prolonged durations. The model indicated that after roughly a billion years of exposure, the alteration is finished. The external strata become something else. Carbon monoxide changes to carbon dioxide. The crystalline formation of the ice alters. Chemical connections sever and remake in novel arrangements. The outcome is a shell that reaches approximately 50 to 65 feet down into the object's core. A layer of radiation-treated substance that no longer reflects the initial makeup from the object's origin system. And this is the troubling portion. We cannot tell how dense this shell actually is. We cannot tell if solar warmth will wear it down to expose untouched substance below, or if the whole entity has been altered, completely all the way. Majolo declared plainly that researchers must take these maturation processes in consideration when studying Threeey Atlas. You cannot simply presume you are observing a pristine specimen from a different star neighborhood. You are observing a thing that has been changed by the brutal conditions of outer space. Yet he additionally stated something optimistic. He stated Threeey Atlas stays very intriguing despite this issue, since if we are able to comprehend how the radiation shell developed, and if we are able to contrast findings from before perihelion with findings after, when solar scouring might have uncovered deeper strata, we could perhaps still be able to perceive the initial makeup. This is what researchers are anticipating currently. The object has crossed perihelion. It is traveling from the Sun. Also in November and December of 2025, at present, it shall become observable once more from Earth as it maintains its path out of our star system. This is our chance. This is the time we could determine if the solar warmth eroded off sufficient amounts of that radiation shell to show what lies below. Yet there is a different thing occurring. A thing that fails to fit tidily within the typical story of a comet being a comet. Suzanne Falsner, a scholar at Forschungszentrum Ulrich in Germany, did suggest something extreme regarding interstellar entities like Threeey Atlas. She proposes these entities may not merely be cosmic detritus, they could be the embryos of planets. Her digital simulations indicate that new stars, encircled by their planet-making disks of vapor and motes, may trap millions of interstellar entities as these wander across the cosmos. Also once trapped, these entities, already many hundreds of meters across, may function as the core around which worlds develop. This resolves a persistent mystery in planetary studies. We understand that planets develop via accretion, tiny motes clinging together to build larger and larger entities. Yet there is a void in our knowledge. Digital models indicate that when entities attain around a meter in dimension, the turbulent setting of a protoplanetary disk ought to make them crash and fragment, instead of cling together. Thus, how can you move from meter-sized stones to planet-sized globes? Falsner's solution is basic. You do not begin with meter-scale stones. You begin with interstellar entities, which are presently big enough to pull in matter gravitationally, and commence the world construction procedure. Interstellar voids provide prepared embryos for the subsequent series of worlds. Also, this is the catch. Her simulations indicate this method functions particularly effectively near giant suns. Suns bigger than our own star. This could clarify why gas-huge worlds, such as Jupiter, are more frequently discovered near bigger suns, despite the fact the world-making disks surrounding those suns just exist for around 2 million years, an insufficient duration for conventional world creation concepts to function. Thus, when you observe Threeey Atlas, you are not merely observing an icy object. You are possibly observing the type of entity that might have developed into a world had it been snagged by a new sun eons in the past. You are observing a construction component of globes which was not ever constructed. Also, this alters the whole situation of what we are witnessing. Yet let us go back to what is transpiring currently, since the truly fascinating element of this tale is not only what we have found, it is what we yet do not understand. The pathway of Threeey Atlas is strange. It is moving at above 130,000 mph, compared to our star system, traveling in what viewers have labeled as an abnormally level and direct course. This is not the turbulent, arcing pathway you would anticipate from an entity that originated in our star system and was impacted by planetary forces for eons. This is a pathway that yells, "I originated from another place, and I am only traveling by." Several calculations indicate Threeey Atlas might be near 7.5 billion years in age. That should render it roughly 3 billion years more ancient than our whole star system. Consider that fact. This entity was present before our star fled, before Earth developed, before all of the worlds we recognize started to exist. It has been voyaging across the cosmos from an era when the Milky Way appeared totally dissimilar than it appears at present. What did this entity observe? What surroundings did it travel across? What star neighborhoods did it float past in the blackness? Not ever really near enough to get trapped, yet near enough to get affected by their energy, their solar breezes, their cosmic vicinities. We understand it originated from some place in the cosmic border, perhaps from the external zones of the young Milky Way, yet we cannot tell where it developed, what sun it circled, or what transpired with that sun. We cannot tell if it was expelled from a new planetary neighborhood by the gravitational interplay of developing gas worlds, or if it just coalesced in the void among suns and has been roaming from that time. What we are sure of is that currently, at this exact instant, Threeey Atlas is traveling away from our star, going back forth into the blackness, and we possess a finite opening to collect as much information as achievable before it vanishes from sight eternally. When it departs, we shall not view it evermore. This is a single chance event. Also, this returns us again to Avi Loeb's appeal to NASA. Dr. Loeb was outspoken regarding the requirement for openness, where it concerns interstellar entities. He became one of the primary figures, asking for earnest scientific study of Oumuamua, the initial verified interstellar guest, which transited through our neighborhood in 2017. Loeb proposed at that time, and asserts currently, that we must not ignore strange scenarios when faced with strange information. He contended that Oumuamua's stretched form, its unforeseen speeding up as it departed the star system, and its absence of viewable comet action, constituted all abnormalities which merited thorough examination instead of hurried justifications. Now, with Threeey Atlas, Loeb is appealing to NASA to provide all scientific information to the wider research collective and the people. His reasoning is simple. This is an entity of exceptional scientific significance. It is just the third verified interstellar guest we have ever found. The information gathered by NASA's devices, by the Swift Observatory, by SOHO, Stereo, and GOES-19, constitutes mankind's greatest opportunity to comprehend what interstellar entities are truly like. That information must not be isolated. It must be accessible for separate examination by scientists across the globe. Yet there is a silent query beneath Loeb's appeal. What precisely is in those files? What did NASA witness that was not openly mentioned? Do readings exist, spectra, or conduct types that fail to match conveniently in media statements and initial reports? The scientific establishment is split on ways to understand Threeey Atlas. Certain scientists are content with the justification that it is just an object with a strange makeup altered by cosmic energy, acting in manners we have not witnessed previously, since we have not examined an interstellar object so near. They indicate the carbon dioxide, the water steam, the chemical indicators, that all declare this is an object, only a strange one. Yet others are not so sure. They indicate the abnormalities, the sudden surging that fails to align with simulations, the absent dust appendage, the completely level pathway, the chance that its inner framework is radically dissimilar from all in our cosmic vicinity. Also they inquire, softly, in study reports and symposium addresses, what different thing might justify these findings. Nobody is declaring it directly. Nobody desires to be the researcher who leaps to assumptions lacking proof. Yet the queries are present, suspended in the atmosphere, like the object's personal, luminous appendage. What if Threeey Atlas is not wholly organic? What if there is some detail regarding its makeup, its framework, or its conduct, which implies it is greater than just a sphere of ice and stone that was wandering across voids for eons? This is what renders that query so awkward. We lack any structure for resolving it. Our complete scientific comprehension of comets, asteroids, and interstellar entities is built on organic creation methods. We observe spectra, we find carbon dioxide and water, and we assume comet. We observe a stretched form, and we assume peace from a planetary impact. We observe a pathway, and we figure gravitational interplay with different star neighborhoods. Yet what if the markers we are taught to understand possess several potential justifications? What if certain of the items we are noticing might be compatible with both organic and synthetic provenances? How could we possibly discern the distinction? This does not concern proclaiming Threeey Atlas as anything different than what it seems to be. This concerns recognizing that our data pool for interstellar entities is precisely three: Oumuamua, Borisov, and today, Threeey Atlas. Three entities, from the possibly billions or trillions of entities wandering across our cosmos. We are making determinations regarding a whole category of cosmic occurrences founded on three instances. That is not methodology, that is initial watching, at most, and every one of those three did provide us with shocks. Oumuamua sped up in a manner which was not justifiable by vapor release only. Borisov appeared somewhat standard, yet arrived from another stellar setting, with dissimilar chemical indicators. And today, Threeey Atlas is illuminating abruptly, shedding water at unheard of speeds, and defying our simulations of how radiated comets ought to act. Perhaps all three constitute just organic entities with strange characteristics. Perhaps the cosmos is much more varied than we have acknowledged it for, and each interstellar guest shall show us a new thing regarding the assortment of settings and creation methods throughout the cosmos. That is the plainest justification, and it is likely accurate. But the abruptness of Threeey Atlas's illuminating, the moment of it, The manner it occurred just at perihelion that continues bothering some scientists, since there is a distinction separating strange but justifiable, and strange in a manner that hints at a thing we have not pondered. Let us discuss what transpires subsequently, since the tale of Threeey Atlas is nowhere near finished. As the object travels from the star, it shall stay viewable throughout November and December. Observers across the planet are aiming their instruments toward it, gathering spectral information, gauging its luminosity, monitoring all shifts in its energy level. The query all people wish resolved is basic. Shall the energy diminish now that it is traveling from solar warmth? Or shall a different thing transpire? Jang and Batums particularly observed that the post-perihelion development might be equally strange as the pre-perihelion explosion. What did they signify by that? What are they anticipating? Or maybe more precisely, what are they worried could transpire? A single scenario is that the object shall just dim, as anticipated. The solar warmth diminishes, the vaporization decelerates, the luminosity falls, and Threeey Atlas changes to a faint dot, slowly vanishing into the blackness. That constitutes the standard situation. A different scenario is that the energy persists, or perhaps grows. If there is some material within the core, some unstable substance that is presently uncovered by the scouring of the external strata, it might persist vaporizing, even while the object travels from the star. That should indicate to us the inner makeup is radically dissimilar from the exterior. But there is a third scenario, which nobody wishes to voice aloud. What if the conduct alters in a manner which is not justifiable by solar warmth whatsoever? What if there is a design to the energy, which hints at inner mechanisms rather than outside warmth? What might that signify? The pair of Mars vehicles, Curiosity and Perseverance, really possessed a distinct chance to see Threeey Atlas from their lookout position on the red planet's exterior. Their viewings offered a dissimilar viewpoint, a dissimilar angle of sight, which might uncover specifics unseen from our world. The information from those viewings has not been completely distributed yet. What did they observe? Here is a fact many individuals miss. The object traveled near enough to the star that the solar breeze, that flow of energized particles streaming away from our sun, must have engaged straight with its coma, the halo of vapor, and motes enveloping the core. That engagement produces phenomena we can detect: plasma disruptions, magnetic field twists, particle acceleration. Also, these phenomena can inform us regarding the makeup and framework of the object in methods that basic spectroscopy is unable. NASA's Stereo Observatory, particularly created to examine the star and its effect on the space setting, recorded pictures displaying Threeey Atlas engaging with the solar breeze. These pictures uncovered formations in the coma, imbalances in the vapor spread, designs which hint at intricate dynamics in action. Yet deciphering these designs demands comprehension, not only of cometary science, but plasma science, magnetohydrodynamics, and the turbulent setting beside the star. This is the reason Loeb's appeal for information openness counts. The greater number of observers on this information, the greater number of viewpoints applied, the higher probability we possess of comprehending what is truly transpiring. Maybe a single study team will see a detail another team overlooked. Maybe a separate examination might uncover a design which alters the whole understanding. Methodology functions optimally when it's transparent, when information is distributed, when strange viewings are received with thorough examination, rather than early rejection. And Threeey Atlas is strange sufficient that it merits that degree of examination. Presently, we should cover a thing that is spreading in digital conversations and amateur sky-watching groups. Certain individuals remarked that the moment of Threeey Atlas's explosion, aligning nearly perfectly with perihelion, appears overly exact. Organic mechanisms are frequently disordered, turbulent, with slow alterations instead of abrupt shifts. Then why did the luminosity explosion occur precisely when it occurred? The scholarly justification is that a certain boundary event existed. As the object warmed up, it attained a crucial warmth, with a vaporization speed abruptly accelerated. The shielding CO2 stratum vanished at a particular instant, and when it vanished, the water ice beneath was bared all at once, resulting in the fast illumination. That's believable. That matches known science. Yet a different explanation exists, which several deem persuasive. Imagine if the entity was engineered to power on at a precise separation from a sun. Suppose the explosion was not produced by ambient warming, but by an inner mechanism, initiated by closeness to our star. Prior to rejecting that as fantasy, contemplate this thought. We have previously dispatched craft to different worlds, which power up at precise moments or in precise situations. We constructed orbiters that activate when they sense solar energy beyond particular thresholds. The idea of a boundary-activated mechanism is not strange. It is fundamental design. The issue is not if such a device is feasible. The issue is if there is some proof that Threeey Atlas is something different than an organic entity. Also, the truthful reply is, we lack sufficient information now to exclude possibilities finally. What renders Threeey Atlas especially fascinating is its bulk. Initial calculations indicate this entity possesses a bulk of roughly 33 billion tons. This is huge for an object. The majority of comets we see within our home star system are far tinier. The core of Halley's object, for contrast, is calculated at near 22 billion tons. Thus, Threeey Atlas is considerably more substantial than one of the best known objects in our past. Today, bulk by itself implies nothing strange. Bigger entities are present across the star system, yet joined with the different peculiarities. The swift speed, the sudden vaporizing, the strange pathway, it contributes one more piece of information to an expanding catalogue of details that cause this entity to seem unique. Also next, there is the speed. 130,000 Mbh may not seem exceptional in celestial scales, yet it signifies a particular energetic condition. This entity is traveling quick enough to flee not only our star system, but to journey among star neighborhoods. For eons, it has been en route for such duration that the sun it came from may not actually be present now. That sun might have developed past the main band, grown into a crimson colossus, cast off its external strata, and imploded to a pale dwarf, entirely while Threeey Atlas was roaming across the blackness. Consider that trip. 7.5 billion years. Should the duration calculations be right, this entity has been voyaging from before intricate existence emerged on our world. It traversed zones of void we can just speculate regarding. It endured meetings with goodness knows how many star neighborhoods, gravitational disturbances from huge entities, energy from origins we cannot pinpoint. Also, it surfaced from all of that whole, still solid, still identifiable as a separate entity instead of a scattered mist of fragments. That, by itself, is astounding. The endurance proportion for entities voyaging across interstellar voids over eons ought to be comparatively small. Impacts with different entities, gravitational upsets, energy harm, that produces framework collapse. Every one of these is risks. Still, Threeey Atlas is present, seemingly whole, seemingly operating in manners that imply it is maintained together exceptionally well, notwithstanding its old provenances. The radiated shell which Webb found may really be a piece of the solution. That 50 to 65 foot deep stratum of radiation-treated substance may be serving as a shielding cover, protecting the core from added harm, preserving framework soundness. It is a layer created by eons of cosmic ray strikes, tougher and more resilient than the untouched ice below. In a way, the voyage itself rendered Threeey Atlas more lasting. Yet here is when it becomes fascinating from a technical viewpoint. Should you be creating a device to journey among star systems, to endure the brutal conditions of deep space for eons, what actions would you take? You would require shielding from energy. You would require structural soundness that might resist micrometeorite strikes. You would require a structure that might manage wild temperature fluctuations. Also, you would likely desire it to be mainly inert, not needing functioning mechanisms for most of the voyage, just powering on when it met specific situations. A radiated shell could fulfill plenty of those roles. It might shield the inside, it might offer structural support, it might be created organically by the surroundings, needing zero active upkeep. Also, if some material was below, some material that must stay inert until activated by closeness to a sun, that shell would protect it. Now, I am not asserting that is what Threeey Atlas is. I am asserting that if you examine the traits we have noted, the duration, the bulk, the shielding shell, the threshold activated energy, you are observing attributes that could also be harmonious with a fabricated entity intended to journey among suns. This does not confirm anything. It simply implies we must be meticulous in our examination. This is the reason the scientific process exists. You do not begin with answers, you collect information, you check theories, you search for methods to differentiate among rival justifications. Also at present, we require further information. The findings arriving during the approaching few weeks shall be vital. If Threeey Atlas dims predictably, if its conduct aligns with polished simulations of radiated objects affected by solar warmth, then we will possess a solid, organic justification for all we witnessed. The peculiarities will be justified as the outcome of strange, but comprehensible, makeup and situational background. Yet, if the conduct persists in straying from expectations, if patterns exist in the energy that fail to match solar separation, if the spectral information uncovers makeups or frameworks that defy our comprehension of organic object creation, then we will require to broaden our theory space. We will require to ponder scenarios that presently appear improbable. Also, that is awkward for numerous researchers, since when you begin considering theories that exist beyond the standard paradigm, you expose yourself to critique, to charges of conjecture, to being categorized as marginal or sensational. Yet that awkwardness must not stop us from pursuing the information, wherever it guides. Loeb was outspoken regarding this. He did contend repeatedly that the shame surrounding exploring non-organic provenances for strange entities is inherently non-scientific. Methodology is meant to be neutral regarding conclusions. You suggest theories, you check them with proof. Also, you pursue the findings. If a synthetic provenance theory can be checked and disproven, then it constitutes a legitimate scientific theory, irrespective of how awkward it renders individuals. The difficulty is determining which observations could really differentiate between organic and synthetic provenances. What might we anticipate viewing differently? What readings? What designs? What indicators would be conclusive? For an organic comet, we would anticipate energy to relate exactly with solar warmth. We would anticipate the makeup to reside within established boundaries for ices and stones created in protoplanetary disks. We would anticipate structural differences to be arbitrary, mirroring turbulent accretion mechanisms. We would anticipate the path to display minor disturbances from vapor release that align with the heading and power of visible plumes. For an object engineered, we could anticipate exact boundary conduct, energy that activates or deactivates at particular situations, instead of slowly altering. We could anticipate strange symmetries in the framework or makeup. We could anticipate path adjustments which are not justifiable by inert vapor release. We could anticipate radio signals at frequencies which imply signaling instead of organic plasma mechanisms. Did we search for those items? Did we perform the checks that might let us differentiate among these scenarios? That's what Loeb is requesting NASA to release files for. Allow the scholarly collective to check everything. Allow separate scientists to search for designs. Allow the examination to be as thorough as feasible, because this is the truth. We are existing in an instant of celestial importance. For the initial moment in our history, we possess the capability to find, follow, and study entities from different star neighborhoods. We are able to aim our best instruments at these guests and collect information that might have been unattainable just 2 decades past. The James Webb Space Telescope is providing us glimpses into the makeup and framework of entities at unmatched clarity. Our web of orbital observatories delivers persistent surveillance that Earthbound instruments alone might never manage. This constitutes the prime era of interstellar entity study. Yet it is also a short opening. These entities travel by rapidly. Threeey Atlas shall be absent in months, vanishing back toward the huge void among suns. Also, we might not glimpse a different interstellar guest for ages, or eons. Everyone is valuable. Everyone has a chance we cannot afford to squander. And this is why the sudden illuminating matters. This is why the absent dust appendage matters. This is why the radiation shell matters. This is why each peculiarity, each unforeseen action, each variance from our simulations merits earnest consideration. Since we are not only observing a comet, we are collecting information that might reform our comprehension of what is present in deep space. Consider the consequences if deep space is packed with entities such as Threeey Atlas, trillions upon trillions of them, floating among the suns, holding within them the chemical indicators of remote star neighborhoods, perhaps even holding the construction components of worlds not yet created. The cosmos turns into a huge sea of possibility, of basic matter, perpetually in flux, perpetually reallocating itself across eras. But consider the consequences if just a tiny portion of those entities are a different thing. If amid the innumerable organic comets and asteroids roaming across the blackness, there are likewise fabrications, craft, creations, dispatched by societies that were present millions, or billions, of years past. How could that impact our comprehension of sentience within the cosmos? How could it impact our position in the universal narrative? We have hunted for radio emissions from the suns. We have sought laser impulses, for fabricated constructions near faraway stars, for some indication that we are not isolated in this immense cosmos. Yet perhaps we have been searching in the incorrect location. Perhaps the proof is not external, amid the suns. Perhaps it is present, traveling via our home star system, camouflaged as organic entities, since that is precisely what they are composed of. Intergalactic craft would not seem like vessels from fantasy tales. They would appear like stones, like frost, like objects. They would assimilate. Also, the sole method we could tell the distinction is via meticulous, thorough examination of their conduct and makeup. This returns us again to the information. This returns us again to openness. This returns us again to the basic query of if we are being as meticulous as we ought to be in studying these entities. The approaching few weeks shall show us much. While Threeey Atlas travels from the star, as we persist in tracking its luminosity, its frequencies, its pathway, we shall collect additional fragments of the mystery. Perhaps these fragments shall combine into a sharp image of a strange, yet completely organic, icy object. Perhaps they will uncover designs that defy our present comprehension and compel us to broaden our hypotheses, or perhaps, just perhaps, they might reveal a thing we did not anticipate, a thing that causes us to doubt our presumptions regarding what is feasible, regarding what is present forth in the blackness, regarding if we are as isolated as we have perpetually thought. A single fact is sure: we are observing. At present, at this instant, instruments across the planet and in orbit are aimed at Threeey Atlas. Researchers are studying frequencies, figuring pathways, simulating inner frameworks. Hobbyist sky watchers are distributing findings, matching records, assisting in a worldwide push to comprehend this guest. The information is gathering, the image is getting sharper. Also, whatsoever we find, whatsoever the resolution happens to be, it shall alter some detail of how we view the cosmos. Since each interstellar entity shows us a new thing, each guest from the blackness carries with it data we could not acquire in any different manner. Each peculiarity is a chance to polish our hypotheses, to check our presumptions, to shove the limits of what we understand. Threeey Atlas arrived from someplace. It journeyed for eons to arrive here. It endured situations we can hardly comprehend. Also presently, for a short instant in celestial duration, it is present, near enough for us to examine, near enough for us to gain from. It is acting in manners we did not foresee, conducting in manners that defy our simulations, uncovering attributes that compel us to ponder more on what interstellar entities truly are. The query is not if Threeey Atlas is peculiar. It plainly is. The query is what that peculiarity signifies. Is it the peculiarity of an organic cosmos, more varied and intricate than we have acknowledged it for? Or is it the peculiarity of a different thing? A thing that causes us to rethink basic presumptions regarding our position in the cosmos. Duration shall show. The information will show. Also, that is the reason we require it all. That is why openness counts. That is why Loeb's appeal to NASA is significant, irrespective of what the concluding resolution happens to be. Since in the conclusion, this is not merely regarding a single entity traveling via our star system. It is regarding how we face the mysterious. It is regarding if we are courageous enough to pursue the proof wheresoever it guides, even if it brings us to awkward locations. It is regarding if we are prepared to pose hard queries and receive ambiguous resolutions. Threeey Atlas remains out there, traveling from us at above 100,000 trepa, taking its mysteries again into the blackness. Yet for today, for these valuable weeks, when it is yet viewable, we possess an opportunity to gain knowledge, to watch, to query, to ponder. Also perhaps, just perhaps, to find a thing that alters all. The interstellar guest did arrive, did execute its unforeseen show, and is presently leaving. What it abandons behind are queries, significant queries, queries that merit resolutions. The cosmos is communicating to us via these entities. Are we attending closely enough to perceive what it is communicating?